Let's go back in time. Picture it, Charleston, South Carolina. The year is 1829, and in the grand houses along the waterfront, where the air is thick with money and power, a secret is growing. And this one secret, it's about to bring 12 of the city's most untouchable families crashing down.
You have to understand, this was the absolute epicenter of the American slave trade. A city of immense, staggering wealth, all of it built on the foundation of unimaginable human suffering. And right there, in the very heart of that power structure, something was happening that absolutely nobody could have seen coming.
And here's the thing, that secret, it wasn't a plan or a document. It was a person, an enslaved woman named Elizabeth Montgomery. And she had a power that her masters, in all their arrogance, could never ever have imagined. She was listening, and she understood every single word.
Okay, so the big question, right? How in the world does an enslaved woman in the antebellum South learn to speak 7 languages? Well, that's where this incredible story really begins, with a secret education that was happening in plain sight.
For 18 years, get this, starting when she was only 16 years old, Elizabeth carried out this deliberate and incredibly dangerous act of self-education. It all started almost by accident, when she realized that the French merchants talking business with her master never even considered that she could understand them. And right then, she decided to make their ignorance her weapon.
This, to me, is the most mind-blowing part of her story. Just think about it. Elizabeth had no books, no tutors, no lessons. She learned simply by listening, soaking up grammar, vocabulary, and all the little nuances while she was serving wine, polishing silver, just standing invisibly in the corners of rooms where these powerful men were making their deals. From French to Spanish to German and more, she just cataloged it all in her mind. Absolutely incredible.
But here's where the story takes a huge turn. Elizabeth's knowledge wasn't just for her. I mean, she could have used these skills to escape, and who would have blamed her? But she chose a different path, a much more dangerous, much more ambitious one. She wasn't just going to escape slavery. She was going to take down the whole criminal enterprise that enriched her captors.
So who was her target? Well, it wasn't just one person. It was a whole conspiracy of 12 of Charleston's most powerful merchant families, and that included her own master, Robert Thornton. I mean, these guys were the city's absolute elite, protected by their money, their political connections, and a whole system that was built to look the other way.
Their whole operation was pretty sophisticated. See, even though the international slave trade had been banned back in 1807, these families were running a massive illegal smuggling ring. They were using foreign ports, forging documents, and bribing their way through the system to traffic hundreds of people into the U.S. every year. And they talked about it all openly, because they figured using all these different European languages was the perfect cover. They were so wrong.
For 3 solid years, Elizabeth basically acted as a secret prosecutor. Every name, every date, every ship she overheard, it was all meticulously recorded in a tiny, stolen notebook. She wrote everything in her own personal code, mixing languages and abbreviations, creating a document that, if it was ever discovered, would have meant her certain death. So, by 1829, Elizabeth had everything she needed. She had built this ironclad case. The only question now was, how do you light the fuse without getting destroyed in the blast yourself? And this next step really shows her strategic genius. She knew going to the local authorities was completely useless. They were probably on the payroll. So she went global. She worked with a really brave ally, a free black clerk named Marcus Freeman, and together they translated all her evidence into 7 languages and mailed it everywhere. They created a crisis that was too big, too international to be silenced by local power. Man, the speed of the collapse was just remarkable. The fallout was immediate, and it was catastrophic for these families. I mean, just look at this timeline. Within a matter of weeks, accusations are flying in from Paris, Spanish authorities are launching investigations in Cuba, their credit lines from German banks are frozen, and federal investigators are suddenly on the ground in Charleston. The secret empire they built was just crumbling for everyone to see.
Okay, so as his whole world is collapsing, Elizabeth's master, Robert Thornton, is getting desperate and paranoid. The public scandal was one thing, but for Elizabeth, the private danger was now off the charts.
And it all leads to this terrifying confrontation. Thornton, totally ruined and furious, finally puts the pieces together. He corners her and he accuses her directly. And in that one moment, Elizabeth had to deliver the performance of her life, right? Playing the part of the ignorant servant she had pretended to be for years, all while knowing her life was hanging by a thread. Her performance, it bought her some time, but it didn't buy her safety. Thornton needed cash to pay for his legal defense, so he decided to liquidate his assets, which meant selling most of his enslaved workers, including Elizabeth, down the river to the horrific conditions of the Deep South plantations. This was basically a death sentence, and it meant she had to get out, and get out now.
So her escape was just as audacious as her espionage had been. With Marcus Freeman's help one last time, she got her hands on expertly forged freedom papers, creating a whole new identity as Elizabeth Freeman. She slipped away in the dead of night, connected with the Underground Railroad, and started this harrowing journey north, starting out hidden in the dark cargo hold of a ship.
And she made it. Elizabeth got to Philadelphia, a free woman in a free state. But her story, it doesn't just end with her escape. The very languages she had used to dismantle a criminal conspiracy would now become her languages of freedom.
Up in Philadelphia, Elizabeth didn't hide. No way. She built a whole new life for herself as a teacher and an activist. And her story, which was published anonymously, became this powerful weapon for the abolitionist movement. It was living proof that completely countered the racist lies that were used to justify slavery. It was a testament to the intellect, the courage, and the resilience of enslaved people. And in the end, she lived long enough to see the 13th Amendment ratified, passing away a free woman in a free country.
The story of Elizabeth Montgomery, the secret scholar of Charleston, is just such a powerful reminder that history is filled with these unsung heroes. And it really leaves you wondering, doesn't it, just how many other stories of impossible courage and hidden genius are still out there waiting in the shadows to be told.